can't see me, but I'm doing the sarcastic hand gestures controversial episode of Doctor Who. Normally, I watch these episodes later in the night on BBC iPlayer, or I don't even watch it until the next day. But I went onto my Twitter, and in the trending moments, it was just like, people are complaining, controversial moments in Doctor Who, and I was like, I have to see what this is about. And I have to say, I was very confused, because I don't really see what the problem is, but then I don't know a lot about history, so maybe for all I know, I'm going to sit and defend this episode, and for all I know, it was terribly historically inaccurate. So I'm just going to put a disclaimer at the start saying, I did not learn about this in history, I don't know all the details. If it is historically inaccurate, and there is something terribly wrong that I don't know about, then please let me know, because I am not aware of anything like that. I want to start off with mentioning what I think about history in Doctor Who, and about it trying to teach you something. Because a lot of people relate Doctor Who to like planets, space, aliens, all that kind of thing, and you kind of forget sometimes that the TARDIS is a time machine as well. The first thing that Christopher Eccleston did when he took Rose aboard his ship was bring her to the future. Sure, it was a spaceship, but the Earth was still there. It was the future. We can travel in time in Doctor Who. And I see nothing wrong with trying to teach something in some of the episodes. Maybe not all of them, but definitely some of them. Because I'm just going to say right here, I would never have remembered when World War I started if it weren't for the Family of Blood double episodes. Because for some reason, because I watched those episodes of the Family of Blood, it stuck with me when World War I started, because it was based in 1913, and they were always going on about the war the following year. So that was how I always knew about it, because I watched Doctor Who. And I'm not saying that it has to be like a whole lecture and you have to feel like you're learning in school, but there's no harm in sometimes bringing something out of watching Doctor Who, especially when it's based in the past. So that's my opinion on history and Doctor Who in general. Another thing I want to say is that I'm so happy that they are going for this many attempts at getting them home, because I mentioned last week that I was really hoping they would do that, because it was very reminiscent of William Hartnell's incarnation of the Doctor trying to get Barbara and Ian home, because he kept trying and trying, and he kept doing it wrong. And I really appreciate that they're kind of paying homage to that, and that's how the companions are with the Doctor in this series. I really enjoy that. She said, excellent question, when Ryan asked if they could open the box. That felt very much like the Doctor to me. But the way she feels constantly throughout the episodes to me is that she's just an alien trying to help. She could be a Time Lord, but not the Doctor, if that makes sense. It feels like she could be the Doctor's sister, or the Doctor's wife, or the Doctor's daughter, Doctor's sister, something like that. But it doesn't feel like she's the Doctor. I will happily accept her as a female Time Lord, but I'm still not buying her as the Doctor, even though there are moments where I do feel it. But I just don't feel her as the Doctor. And I really wish I did, but I still don't. But I'm still holding out, still having hope. I appreciate that this episode went full on. There was no political correctness bullshit in this. They were going for racism in the 1950s, and they went for it. We had the use of the word Negro. A man threatened that Ryan would be in a noose if he kept acting the way he did. They were kicked out of the bar. I really enjoyed that scene in particular. Not like I enjoyed it like, oh haha, they're being kicked out of a bar. I just enjoyed it for how it was done and how it was written and how it was acted out. I'm glad that they went full on with it, and they didn't kind of sugarcoat it or kind of soften it. they went full on with it. And of course, they weren't throwing out like hard R's or anything, if you know what I mean, because TV can. But they did what they could to portray just exactly how bad it was back then for people of color. And as I say, I appreciate that they didn't bow down to the possibility of being blasted for using words like Negro and using the racism that people like Ryan and like Rosa Parks experienced back then, because it wasn't sugar coated. That was what they had to deal with. That was the kind of bullshit that they had to put up with every single day in places like Alabama. And Doctor Who had been very PC for the past few years. And just seeing an episode like this that was so honest and so realistic about the struggle that people like Rosa Parks endured simply because of the colour of their skin, I, as a viewer, appreciated it. And I'm sure there are loads of people of colour as well who appreciated it too. Because this whole tiptoeing around particular issues, I don't feel like it works. We need to be realistic and honest and open about this kind of stuff because it's history. It happened. We can't pretend that it didn't. But we can look at then about how horrible people were and how brave people like Rosa Parks were and how far we've come, that there's no segregation in buses or swimming pools or schools anymore. And people like Rosa Parks did make a difference in that. And it was great seeing that in Doctor Who and seeing it realistically done, if that makes sense. I also want to say that I'm still loving the camera work. There were some lovely shots in this episode as well, particularly when the Doctor first confronted the time agent on what he was doing. It was a lovely scene. There was like a lovely shot where she was like standing in front of the sun. I really liked that, and I'm just loving the cinematography in this episode, if we're going to use a big word for it. It just seems like a lot more effort is going into it than there has been in recent years. The Banksy reference was so old New Who, if that makes sense. I loved it. It reminded me of Christopher Eccleston saying that he may or may not have been Santa. I loved that. That kind of thing just reminded me so much of old New Who. I call it old New Who because I'm talking maybe from 2005 to 2012 kind of time when I used to watch it every week. I just got a real like thing in my chest when I was just like, oh my god, it's like that's just like the way he used to talk in old New Who. And I just really liked that. I do have a question though. How did the officer know what room they were in if they came in through the window, or it was only Yaz and Ryan that went in through the window? Is that what it was? And then the Doctor and Graham went in through the door? Is that what it was? I don't know. I think I missed something. I wouldn't be surprised. It probably just went straight over my head. I loved also the twisting of the context. I loved the way the officer kind of twisted what happened between Ryan and the white man. Because back then, something would happen, a confrontation between a black man and a white man, for example, and the authorities would always automatically view it as the black man's fault. The black man started, the black man encouraged the white man, the black man irritated them, encouraged them, did something that caused them to act out. I can't comment on what the police is like in America because I live in Northern Ireland, so I can't say for sure if the police are still like that over there. But I know that it's not so bad here for that kind of thing, but I don't really get involved in that kind of stuff, so I don't really want to make a firm statement on that. I really felt it when Ryan met Martin Luther King. It wasn't extravagant, it wasn't like a big magic moment, there wasn't like big brass music or anything, it was just a moment where they said his name and Ryan realised who he was, and I felt it like a punch to my chest because I probably don't even fully understand how much that man means to people like Ryan, to the black community. There's no way I could possibly understand how much Martin Luther King truly means to them. And I'm sure there's so many people in modern society today who give an arm and a leg to be able to meet him, and give an arm and a leg to even be able to say hello to him or pass him in the street, or even just to say thank you for all that he's done for them. And just to see that moment play out, I really liked it, and it just, as I say, kind of hit me in the chest. And Doctor Who hasn't done that for me in years, so I kind of got a bit like, oh my god, Doctor Who's making me feel things again, which is always nice. I want to say that I can see where the whole grandfather-grandson relationship is going. I think it's very obvious. Graham keeps offering fist pumps, and yay, we did it, and Ryan is always ignoring them, and I feel like near the end of the series, it's going to be like, oh, he finally accepted the fist bump, or oh, he finally said good job, Grandad. I think that's quite obvious where that's going, but I don't know, maybe that's just me. Maybe or maybe I'm just making up bullshit. For all we know, he could be awful to his grandfather forever. That would be an interesting twist. Similarly, oh, listen to me talking crap. Similarly, I can't talk properly because my voice is going. Similarly, just take that the way I said it, to the way I felt with the Martin Luther King moment. I felt myself in my head going, God damn it, and shit, and for fuck's sake, every time the time agent did something that prevented Rosa Parks from being on the bus. Every time something happened, I was like, oh my god, like, we just give it a rest. And I really, really loved that. I'm getting invested again. I'm invested in what happens in Doctor Who again. And I haven't been invested in Doctor Who for years. And it's almost very, I just love it, because Doctor Who's my show, my childhood show, it's my favourite show of all time, and just to know that I'm able to get invested in it again, it means a lot to me. And no, my voice is not breaking, I'm not about to cry, it's just my shitty voice at the minute, but it does mean a lot to me that I'm able to get invested in these plot lines again, because for a long time, even when I was watching week by week, I was just like, oh, I don't care what happens. I don't care if Clara dies. I don't care what's going to happen. And considering the fact that I used to be on the edge of my seat every time there was a cliffhanger, it just felt weird for me not to care about Doctor Who anymore. And the fact that I do now, I really appreciate it, and I love it. Future alien person is racist is a very interesting view, since he's an alien and they're different species completely, unless he's a future human. I suppose that's possible. He's a future human who still hates black people. That was certainly an interesting angle. I think maybe it's not quite a stretch, but it was certainly different that he was simply doing it just because he didn't like black people and how they got above themselves, as he said, after what happened to Rosa Parks, which is just bullshit. He's just textbook racist time agent. Is he even a time agent? He has a vortex manipulator. I wouldn't be surprised if he fucking stole it. I don't think time agents would be sent back in time to do that kind of shit. I mean, I know Captain Jack was a con man, but he was out selling empty, what was it, Chula warships. That's not exactly history changing. Weirdly enough, that was also in World War One, or was it World War Two? That's one thing I can't remember. I don't think they ever really mentioned the dates in The Empty Child. God, those were good episodes. Those were really good episodes. Sorry, again, off point. Yeah, it was a very interesting angle. I'm saying I felt a lot in these episodes, which I actually really like. I actually felt Graham's stress when the doctor said that they had to be there and they couldn't help her. Oh my god, that got me in the gut. I was like, oh my god, no! They can't not help! No! And they had to then sit there and watch her get taken off the bus and arrested. I'm actually in disbelief that you can actually, back then, get arrested for not getting up. I don't know why I'm shocked, because I knew that racism was a thing, and it still is a thing, but it was so much worse back then. You get fucking arrested for not getting off a seat in the bus! How fucking ridiculous was that? I suppose we could spend like all day talking about how horrible back then was, but it was just horrendous, you know what I mean? Just, I can't fully fathom it. It just baffles me that was a thing that used to happen to people back then. The music ruined the moment, though, I think. I think Doctor Who is better when it sticks to music that's been composed for the show, like Rosa's theme tune. Every time I hear that, it still strikes me in the gut, even though Rose wasn't one of my favourite companions. Rose's theme always struck me in the gut because it was specifically written to fit Rose's character. Adding music that doesn't doesn't feel like it's been written for Doctor Who and feels more pop culture-y, top 40 kind of thing. I don't think it fits Doctor Who quite well. And then they used it in the credits as well. And I was just like, no, you're supposed to use the theme tune or Doctor Who music or where's Murray Gold when you need him? He used to write such amazing pieces. But yeah, that was just a little complaint. Just don't add pop culture music. Listen to me. I'm 20 years old and I sound like an old grandma. Don't be using that old pop music now. You gotta use the classic stuff. No, but for real, I really think it ruined the moment. It kind of took me out of it, if that makes sense. But that's just a small complaint. I really enjoyed learning about Rosa Parks because I knew who she was. When I hear the name Rosa Parks, I know that she's the woman who gave up her seat on the bus. I didn't know a whole lot about Rosa Parks, so I really enjoyed learning more about her, about how she was a seamstress and just how she fit into history. I didn't know a whole lot about Rosa Parks, so I really enjoyed learning more about her, about how she was a seamstress and just how she fit into history, especially Black history. And as a white person, obviously, I can't comment too much on Black history because I don't know enough about it. But I really enjoyed learning about it. And this is the sort of thing that Doctor Who does. It gives you something to take away from. I'm not sure where the controversy is coming from. The asteroid bit, I agree, was a bit much. Like, oh, they named an asteroid after her. It's like, why? What sort of asteroid is it? Why is it Rosa Parks? I don't understand. Some people were saying that it was too adult, it's supposed to be a kid's show, but as someone rightfully pointed out on Twitter, we learned about Van Gogh and his depression, and they showed that pretty realistically. And sure, it's a kid's show, but I remember as a kid, I really enjoyed the episodes where they treated us like adults. The decision, it was never influenced or mentioned to her that she had to do it. She made that decision herself. They kept Rosa Parks' legacy, in my opinion, safe. But as I say, I don't know a lot about it. For all I know, it could have been a complete train wreck in terms of historical accuracy. I don't know. But I really enjoyed learning a lot about Rosa Parks, and I really enjoyed seeing more of the Doctor going back into the past with his companions and giving the audience something to take out with it, like the fact that I remember when World War I started. So that's all my thoughts on this episode. I want to make a quick note that my review for the following episode might be a bit later than I usually post, like maybe Wednesday. I'll have it posted up by next Wednesday time because I'm going away for the weekend next week and I won't be back until the Monday, so I probably won't get to see the episode until I get back and won't get to film, etc, etc. So the video will be a bit late, but it will come, I promise. So I'll see you next time, Whovians. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you want to. Follow social medias. Don't do any of that if you don't want to be there. I don't want you there if you don't want to be there. And I'll see you next week. And remember, it's always good to learn something. And even though you're not seeing me, I'm doing my thumbs up.